Busy day across the valley today. We had snow showers, snow squalls, some accumulations. We had gusty winds. It turned colder. It kind of resembled a mid-January day for a change. How about that? We registered 1.8 inches at the Youngstown Warren Airport as of the climate report that was issued at about 5:15 this afternoon. We'll see what the final tally is tomorrow evening at this time. Our temperatures went nowhere but down today just after midnight high of 45. 30 is where temperatures kind of bottomed out before 4 p.m. and now they've continued to trail off late in the afternoon and early on this evening. Now, it got a little bit tricky out there for a time late this afternoon in parts of the area, especially in eastern and southern parts of Trumbull County, into Mercer County, into Lawrence County as well. This is the current radar as of 7:08 p.m. There we go. There's the color scheme kicking in. It's, of course, not rain. It is snow. Not much in the way of real impactful snow shower activity as of 7:08. A few fingers still left over of some light to moderate snow, but we're not seeing the intensity that we had a few hours ago. Let me try to actually back up the radar here. A few hours. This was the Mondo band that led to some pretty hefty accumulations, at least relatively speaking, in a short amount of time. Mid to late afternoon today, from Cortland to Vienna to Sharon, West Middlesex, Hermitage area, heading down towards New Wilmington and even down towards Newcastle. This led to some slick roads, and a lot of places got a couple of inches worth of snow out of this earlier on this afternoon. Road temperatures along with air temperatures have been cooling over the last several hours. These are actual road temperature sensors via ODOT down towards 30 in southern Columbiana County, close to the Glenmore area, about 40.1, but that's one of the warmer sensor readings. Most of our sensors are seeing those surface temperatures getting a little bit closer to freezing, and now that, of course, we've lost the daylight hours, any snow that comes down hard enough will have no trouble really sticking, so keep that in mind. We'll talk about what's going to happen in the future here momentarily, but the lake is wide open, of course. Not only Lake Erie, but the other Great Lakes have very little ice. By this point in January, usually 30 to 50% of Lake Erie is covered by at least a little bit of ice, and we're just percent ice coverage on Lake Erie here in the middle of January. I wouldn't say it's super unusual. It's certainly below average, but we can point to many years in the past in which this has been the case, in which the ice season has gotten off to a very, very slow start. All right, rest of the evening, I'm going to keep an eye on the radar. Might be one more band snaking around before the evening is through, and this may be more towards 9, 10, 11 o'clock or so. It's this thing that the model's trying to pick up on. This bears watching for a handful of hours this evening. Once that threat diminishes by midnight or so, I think we're left with just some innocuous flurries for the overnight. Don't think there should be any problems on the roads for the most part tomorrow morning. And actually, I think we'll see some decent amounts of sunshine for the midday and first part of the afternoon tomorrow. It's going to be pretty cold, though, by the standards that we've gotten used to. Nothing unusual for mid-January, but not many days lately in which we've had temperatures staying below average all day. Average high at this time of the year, of course, is 32. We're going to stay in the upper 20s tomorrow afternoon. All right, next weather maker. Clouds increase late Friday. I think the snow gets underway between 3 and 5 a.m. early Saturday morning. Now, as this precipitation pushes in, the air column from the ground up will be cold enough to support all snow initially. Now, how long will that last? I kind of suspect it lasts a few hours, enough to give us maybe a couple or a few inches of snow. And then we'll start to see a warm nose punch in a few thousand feet above our heads by mid-morning-ish, maybe 8, 9, 10 o'clock. Now, our model here is not picking up on that just yet. A lot of our other modeling is showing that warm nose, and I kind of, I have enough experience at this that those warm noses often are faster and more aggressive than the modeling wants to show, especially the modeling a couple of days out. So I'm not going to be surprised by 10:30 in the morning if a chunk of this blue is actually some sort of a sleet, rain, snow mix, and that could lead to more issues on the roads. Even if it's not snowing, we might have some sleet and some freezing rain, especially if it's freezing rain. Things can be a little bit problematic through mid-morning on Saturday. Now, I do think that the transition over to plain rain is guaranteed by the afternoon throughout our area. It'll spread from west to east. The last places to see the frozen precipitation change from Erie on south and east over towards Clarion, Clearfield, DuBois, etc., east of I-79. But yeah, we're going to see that transition to rain as temperatures climb up into the lower 40s, but the warm-up is brief. The cold front rolls through pretty quickly by late afternoon or evening, and some flurries will emerge at night, and we'll be just under a sea of stratocumulus clouds on Sunday, and flurries here and there, maybe lake effect snow accumulations up in the primary snow belts of northeast Ohio and northwest PA. With our snow, late Friday night, Saturday morning. Here's a look at our model. Stick out here, the GFS and the RPM. I just showed you the RPM graphically. That's the green line. The reason why these sticking around longer and a lack of a true warm nose, and so it's spitting out more snow. I'm more in the camp of this stuff down here that brings in the mixed precipitation for mid-morning. That includes the European model, the NAM, and the GFS Ensemble as well. And so that's where our forecast is. It's more in line with some of those models. I think the most likely snow accumulation at this point will be 2 or 3 inches, enough to make things slick, certainly Saturday morning if you've got to head to work. If you work day shift on Saturday, if you're a nurse who's working the 7 to 3 or 7 to 7 shift or something like that, if you have a reason to be out at 6, 7, 8 o'clock Saturday morning, it's going to be pretty tricky out there for a time. It's not the biggest snowstorm in the world, but we're not used to driving in a couple of inches of snow this winter. So be cautious. By the afternoon, wet roads and a lot of this snow, if not all of it, is going to melt. I'm not anticipating big problems as far as ice accretion goes if we see a transition to freezing rain and sleet for a time. I'm not buying this NAM solution. The NAM is always too aggressive with the ice, again, especially a couple days out. I do think we're more in line with the other model. And tree limbs and power lines and that sort of thing. More often than not, you need accretions of at least 1/4 of an inch to cause a lot of problems. This is kind of an ice accumulation index taking into account the amount of ice accretion along with the wind. If you get a lot of wind in addition to an accretion of ice, you can have huge issues. That's more of this stuff down here. We're going to be probably in this zone up here, 15 to 25 mile per hour winds, and at worst, 1/10 of an inch to maybe 2/10 of an inch worth of ice. So that's not something that's going to cause a lot of widespread issues. You know, that number 1, that yellow area, you know, isolated problems. I'm more concerned with the snow accumulation first thing Saturday morning causing the problems. I think the ice could be a minor inconvenience, but not something that's going to be tremendously impactful. So to kind of give you an overview or a summary of what to expect timing-wise, snow gets underway 3, 4, 5 in the morning, transitions over to that wintry mix mid to late morning, just rain for the afternoon, and then spotty flurries re-emerging as the colder air wraps in Saturday night and heading into the day Sunday. It's going to be legit cold for a few days. We won't see freezing again until at least Wednesday, if not Thursday. But then after that, I think the pattern will relax some. The cold air will retreat. This is the 8 to 14 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center today, showing pretty ho-hum looking map for us. I think odds favor some above average temperatures in this extended period. So next weekend through the following week, the pattern's likely to get colder beyond that, but our cold shot that lasts 3 or 4, even 5 days will probably be followed by a fair amount of moderation at the end of next week and into next weekend and early in the following week. More updates on the longer range in future editions of Weather for Weather Geeks. Thanks for sticking with me on this long video, and of course, you'll find updates on the Saturday situation anytime on the Storm Tracker 21 app, here online and on 21 News at 6 and 11 on WFMJ Today, and of course the midday news as well.